Hey, and welcome to Ugh, I Guess, a show where I hate everything until someone convinces me otherwise. I'm Lex Basile-Price, and I think wearing your medal from a marathon the day after the race is a bit juvenile. With me today is the beautiful and hilarious Brendon Bigley.
Hello. Mwah.
Hi.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad that you're here, but how are you wrong?
How am I wrong? Here's the thought I've been having a lot recently because it's worth mentioning we're recording this mid-November 2025.
We just got a snow flurry in New York.
It snowed in New York. Beautiful. I stepped outside today. It was brisk. I was feeling it in the old face. I was having a great time outside, and of course that made me think about being inside and playing video games.
Ooh.
And specifically November and December for me as a person who does video game podcasts is like getting ready for Game of the Year time. Game of the Year is a thing that is hotly contested, and more and more people over the years, I think, have gravitated towards Game of the Year is not important. Not only is it not important, but it's an idea we should throw away. Measuring art in that way is worthless. And I'm here to say that I'm wrong about the idea that Game of the Year is actually extremely, extremely important.
So you are arguing today that Game of the Year is trash and we shouldn't do it?
No, the opposite.
Opposite.
I think it's great.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Stay with me.
Okay. I, as a video gamer,
Yes.
have for years.
Right. Reluctant to admit, I heard on a recent episode, by the way.
It's, you know what? It was a thing that is such a solitary thing for me. I was not a like esportsy or kind of online game. And part of that was like when I grew up, having the internet was already a whole thing. And so I wanted to play my game by myself with my little like JRPG that no one gets to know. So part of me feels like Game of the Year wasn't ever speaking to me because I'm just playing stuff off the like whatever I'm interested in. But I'm interested in your argument.
Yeah. So, okay, I think it's worth starting with the pushback against Game of the Year increasingly.
Sure.
On one hand, you have things like the Game Awards, which is a giant, maybe not televised anymore, but at one point was like televised on Spike TV of all places. Horrifying event that is now purely streamed on Twitch and YouTube and everything. And hundreds of thousands of people watch every year, and every award is sponsored by pick a brand out of a hat that also, you know, advertises on Joe Rogan's podcast.
Yeah, Monster Energy,
Manscaped, MeUndies, whoever. The podcast advertising cartel. Yeah, they're all there. And they're like, we're gonna get up on stage. We're going to show off trailers for, 15 to 25 new games. And then in between those, we will sprinkle in some awards. Oh, this person had the best performance. They don't even get to come on stage and talk about it. They just...
Please don't.
Absolutely not. We're going to rattle off 15 awards in a row. And it all ends on Game of the Year, which, is this supposed to be a big bombastic thing. And famously one where they frequently cut off the award-winning speech, as if it's the Oscars and they've run too long.
Yeah, as if they're not streaming. There's nothing after them.
I guess they rent a theater. That's the kindest I can be to them. They're renting the theater space.
As a producer of
yes,
theater,
you tell me. Yeah,
you do not rent by the minute.
Great.
The hour. So
you got no excuse, Jeff. Is all we're saying over here.
Oh, Jeff. But he has commercials that have to be put up there.
That's true.
But also, who cares? We're all watching it streaming anyways.
Yes.
So I don't understand the idea of we have to be the Oscars other than to almost validate themselves. So let's ape these conventions, but not understanding why maybe those conventions are a thing.
Right. I mean, even if you look at other media, right, and you look at the Oscars, the difference in vibe between the Oscars and the Golden Globes, for example, there's a canyon between the vibes of those two events. And in both cases, a kind reading is that they are respecting the art and they do legitimately care about what people seem to care about when it comes to critique. But the Game Awards does not feel that way. to me. And then you look at the various editorial versions
Right.
of Game of the Year, which is, a group of many people who work on staff at a website will all vote for what they think the Game of the Year is, tally up all those votes, and that becomes the list at the end of the year. That is, I think, interesting from the perspective of learning about an editorial voice of like a website or a news outlet. But what I want to put my foot down and specifically say I think is important is figuring out for yourself personally what your own game of the year is. Because if you step back and you try to put your own emotional weight behind what Jeff Keighley is getting up on stage and saying is the game of the year, you will always be in for a bad time in the same way people are like betting on whatever betting app is going to win the Oscar for Best Picture.
I wonder, do you think that FanDuel has a game of the year bet?
I would bet anything that they do. I would bet on
You would bet on
FanDuel. Yeah.
So my husband is super into award shows,
Mm.
but in like only film and TV, whatever, in
Yes.
the traditional, right? In the traditional things. And so I am sometimes forced to watch them. And this past year on the Oscars, they decided it would be a fun bit that every time someone went over the time limit, they would start taking away money that was being donated to a charity for children.
Oh.
And they had it like ticking down on the screen.
Oh man. Oh no, is that the year that Adrian Brody also talked for however many minutes it was
I think so.
about the Brutalist?
Yes.
Oh no.
And then at the end, they were like, haha, we're just going to donate the money. But you don't get to do that after you've made it seem like these rich people are taking food out of the mouths of children.
Yes. Yes.
Because of
What
your arbitrary rule that you've decided.
What are you thinking?
But it feels similar to the Game Awards.
Yes.
Like, we are just this machine that has no soul. And additionally, as you brought up about, game journalism and sites, we are in a kind of a hellscape where it comes to journalism of
Yes.
all stripes, but especially the games journalism space, where they have really cut back on staff, unions,
Mm-hmm.
anything that isn't like an ad. Like there, a website I pretty much enjoyed for years now. It's like I have to make sure I'm not reading a sponsored ad for a game and an actual opinion.
Right. Right. That's glossed up to look like
An
op-ed.
article.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. And I will agree that in some ways we have to kind of become our own outlets. And it sucks too, because in this like a social media sense, right?
Yes,
Where
right.
everyone has their own their opinion, and it's just as important as everyone else's. And it's like, but that's not true.
Mhm.
But I also do believe that we should be kind of like putting out these things of this is my opinion, but also here's my informed opinion around that.
Yes.
And I should be taken in some ways seriously because of this, all the breadth of work that I'm kind of putting out there.
Yeah, I feel very strongly that what I'm advocating for here is for people to interrogate their own relationship with the games that they're playing on a deeper level. Not everyone is going to be clear.
Of course.
A lot of people ingest media, and for them, it's just something that they need to do to like unwind, decompress, whatever. Fine. I do think there is a certain level of like media literacy that is born of asking yourself, why is this my favorite thing I played this year? And what does that tell me about myself and my own taste? And also, what do I learn about the thing that I placed at number 2 versus number 1? I think the idea of listing art inherently feels like silly at a certain level because it's so subjective.
Of course.
But I do think there is something to be gained about like your personal journey as a human being who exists in the world when you ask yourself what emotionally you took away from a piece of art. And that's why I really personally get behind GOTY season in general. And I'm very interested in talking to other people who are also doing the same thing and reading other people's lists and watching their videos and listening to podcasts. Cause I'm like so fascinated by what I learn about a person based on the games that they choose to place in what place. And I feel like if you can get behind that, the video game people in the world, if they can get behind that, then you're also in a lot of ways answering and getting closer to what Jeff Keighley says he wants with the Game Awards, which is taking games seriously.
Yeah, and I think you're almost advocating for some sort of infrastructure or website where you can take almost in a Rotten Tomatoes-y sense, right? Where like people can aggregate and we can get some data theoretically from people about like what ended up being 1s and 2s and 3s and 4s.
Yeah. I think there are websites like that exist. And I do find that interesting in terms of like the broader consciousness of people who are ingesting art. But I very much mean personally, like as an individual, the exercise of sitting down and asking yourself, what is my favorite thing and why, is like crucial to enjoying art.
Sure. I agree with that. It's almost a meditative, reflective activity that helps you digest who you are as a person and how you engage in the world and media. Yeah.
Exactly. I think the experience of sitting down and critiquing, I mean, even just before we started recording, we had a little blip where you and I were talking about some shows that we saw on Broadway recently and what we liked and didn't like about them and why. And that experience is so gratifying and so interesting because the more of that you do, I'm not a person who sees Broadway as much as I would honestly like to as a person who also lives in New York. I think everybody feels that way. If you live in New York, you're like, I should be seeing more shows, and you're not. But I think, the infrequent experiences I have sitting in a theater, watching a performance of a musical or a play or what have you, and walking out of it and asking myself, what did I like and not like about this, is even interesting to me as a person who doesn't know as much about Broadway as I do, for example, as video games. I know, honestly, frankly, too much. There's too much information in this head about video games. I would like to get some of it out, and yet I keep cramming more into it. But even still, that doesn't mean that I can't sit down and watch a show on Broadway and walk out and have an opinion on it, because it's important. Every opinion is going to be important when it comes to critiquing art, I think.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people feel like two things. That critique means bad, right? That critique means you have a problem with it. And then number 2, that you have to be an expert to critique. And I think that neither of those are true, right? Like,
completely agree. Yeah.
When me and my husband will go see something, we do the, like a show, for example, we'll do the requisite 1 block rule. We don't like to.
Yes. Can you explain what the 1 block rule is? Because a lot of people don't. I've learned by going to see shows with people, some people don't know about the 1 block rule, and it freaks me out.
It bothers me so much. If you are in a theater, listeners, you aren't to talk about the play.
Right.
You can kind of like do a whisper of like, oh, stay. There's been a few times where we're like, no, we don't need to stay. But when you exit the theater, you should not be speaking about the show until you are at least 1 block away from that theater.
Absolutely.
Because that's courteous to the people around you. That's giving you a little bit of time to digest. Because I even sometimes like at the end of a show, everyone wants to clap. Everyone as an audience member wants to clap. We're clapping for mostly ourselves, but we're also clapping for the performers. I like to, a lot of the times, sit there, take a second, think about what I just saw. How do I feel? I don't tend to clap immediately. And I think that also relates to I don't want to talk about it immediately. I need some time to just center myself of how do I feel about this?
Yes.
And then the entire time you're like, taking the subway, taking a cab, however you're getting home, that's when you get to sit there and be like, okay, let's chat. And there is something that, me and my husband see a ton of shows. We've worked together on shows. We read a lot of theater and plays and scripts and stuff. So we theoretically know what we're talking about, but we will critique everything we see. Even if it's our favorite thing we've seen, we will sit there and go, this is what really worked. This really didn't work. This was weak. This was strong. And we do that about everything. Movies, books, when we've both read them, TV. We like to engage in that. And I also like to engage in that with friends and random people that if we start talking about that. And I think a lot of people are scared to have an opinion because they don't want to seem wrong.
Right.
And I think that's sad. I think that you should have a little bit of confidence, and you are a legitimate person. Your opinion is important. and you might disagree, and that's okay too. Brendon and I literally talked about a musical where I was like, oh, I liked it. And Brendon's like, eh. And that didn't impact this conversation at all. Or the next conversation we had about another thing.
Right.
So, yeah. So number one, critique is critique. It doesn't, it's neutral.
And I think what you touched on, which is the most important thing, is that regardless of how you feel about it, you are engaging with it. You are thinking about it. It's not a completely passive experience. Because if you look at the back end of the people who put the show together or the game, develop the game or the film or whatever, the existence of any art is a miracle, generally speaking.
Oh, for sure.
And in a lot of instances, the amount of thought, it reminds me of like being in middle school and, your teacher's making you pick any book.
Yeah.
And you have the one kid who raised their hand and go like, there's no way they actually meant that, right? Like they didn't think that while they were writing the book, and like they might have been.
They might have, but guess what? It doesn't even matter if they did or not.
Right. You're allowed to interpret it however you want, right?
Yes.
Once it leaves the artist, it becomes whatever. But if you've worked on shows, you're a producer. I've worked on the back end of a lot of that. I worked for a very large media entertainment company for a very long time. And you learn a lot about the intentionality behind every single decision and specifically like what makes it in front of an audience member. And as soon as you have any glimpse into what it takes to make something, immediately, I think that refires all of your neurons, creates new mental pathways that make you think like, okay, well, if this is intentional, then this must also be intentional, and this must also be intentional. And then suddenly you're taking away entirely new things from art. And I think that's exciting, right? And when I see people specifically taking it all back, when I see people specifically saying like game of the year is like a silly endeavor because if you want to take video games seriously, then you can't be like ranking it.
Yeah.
What I say is maybe don't do it in like the large, we're giving you like a big piece of metal sense, but maybe in a very personal sense. By engaging in the idea of game of the year, you're actually engaging with art on a deeper level, revisiting everything that you've experienced throughout the year and walking away with a new emotional touchstone about how you will appreciate art in the future is so important to just enjoying life, is my feeling about it at a base level.
Yeah, I think it's so easy because we're inundated to just kind of be flooded with media and to just kind of let it roll off of you. And I think that there is definitely a positive about sometimes just literally turning your mind off and letting something wash over you. There's plenty of times where I will play a game that usually I've like completed or whatever, and I'm just like, this is my brain off. I have a podcast. I'm barely listening to that maybe, or an audiobook that I'm like kind of interested in, and just turning off my brain. I think
beautiful. It's a beautiful feeling.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because our brains are constantly on. But I also think that by re-engaging with something means that you were affected by that. And you were able to like spark those neural passageways in a way that is just kind of missed, really. And part of that is, you can attribute that to anything. With like TV shows, theoretically, we don't have those water cooler moments. We're streaming everything. Everything comes all at once. You kind of just binge it and you're done with it. And then you move on to the next thing. And there's even been pushback on that with like, TV shows on streaming are sometimes doing those weekly releases of maybe 2 or 3 episodes. Like, I don't know if you watched Murderbot.
Not yet. No, I want to though.
But they did a weekly thing and people were kind of torn on this, right? They were like, first, they're only like 22 minutes and they're weekly.
Yeah.
And so people are like, too short. And other people are like, no, this feels like what TV kind of used to feel like. And you just want to talk about it. And I think the same thing could be said about games. So many games are coming out. This year has been wild with games.
It's been messed up. It's been really messed up.
And stuff that we didn't even know was coming out. And there's like, here's this.
Right.
This is brilliant and amazing. But okay, never mind. Here's the next one.
Yeah. My favorite game of the year was the release date was announced 2 weeks before it came out.
Yeah.
How was I supposed to prepare for that? I literally this is my job. I wiped my calendars clean 2 weeks after that point. I was like, this is the only thing I'm going to be doing. And that's not what I expected to be doing in, September 2025.
Right. You're like, oh, I pretty much got it set.
Yeah. I kind of knew what was happening. Yeah.
There's been
I had
plenty of releases that have come out that you're like, oh, possible. That's possible. Yeah. And then you're like, this? Oh, fuck.
Absolutely not. Yeah. Absolutely not. Yeah.
Uh, I almost feel like there should give yourself an exercise, and I feel like I've told other people to do this.
Mm,
It almost feels like you need to go back to that middle school, high school practice of after you read something, after you consume something, almost doing like a book report, and
yeah.
in a but not plot wise, but just write an essay about what this meant. And I don't mean necessarily journaling it out, writing it out, but that same feeling where you had to have a critical response to something has been missing. And now, I mean, now it's even worse because children are just using AI and teachers are using AI to check the AI. And
You love to see it. Don't we love to see it, folks?
as someone who works with children that don't know how to type on a keyboard
Mm.
because it's not with their fingers,
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
like they will go to touch laptops and computer screens, and I'm like,
Whoa.
it's not a tablet.
That's so interesting.
It's wild. And
Yeah.
I'm having to teach them coding, and I'm like, but you can't spell anything.
Mm.
But I've also seen them like just type into a search browser like for AI.
Yeah.
Give me the names of different candy brands.
Just typing that into the URL
Yeah.
field
Yes.
on a browser. That's
And
so
then
interesting.
AI will
Whoa.
just develop a list of them.
Oh man, yeah, of course, yeah,
Right?
of course it will.
Of course it will.
Yeah,
But there doesn't seem to be a lot of critical engagement, and it's easy to fall into that trap.
Yeah.
Even if you didn't grow up with it, it's so easy to just be like,
yeah,
summarize this for me, please.
right. Yeah, offloading critical thought to a thing that is not doing critical thought, but sure does create something that looks like critical thought when you read it back.
Yeah, and by doing this exercise of like creating a game of the year list, you are forcing yourself to engage and have critical analysis of what
Right.
what you've done, what you've spent hours, probably some of the most time if you are like into video games.
Yeah.
Most of this stuff is not short. I mean, some
Even
of
if you've
them are.
only played 2 games in a year, if you sit down and you ask yourself which one of these was better than the other one, and if somebody asked me why, I would be able to explain my reasoning for having one at number 1 and one at number 2.
Yeah.
That's all you need. And then it turns out the more you do that, the better you get at it, and the more engaged you become in the art that you're ingesting.
Yeah.
And suddenly it's not as much of a passive experience anymore, which I think is exhilarating.
Yeah, and I'm someone that I engage with a lot of different kind of media. Video games, movies, TV shows, books, plays, theater, whatever.
Yeah, I think it's important.
It is, but it's just something that like I naturally did. Like that was not necessarily given to me by
It wasn't like prescribed. Yeah.
right. I just was that kid partially because I had ADHD.
Heyo.
Hey. So I was engaging in a lot of stuff constantly, even as a kid, and I was doing it very quickly because I was just wanting to be a sponge. And I think that's the time where you can do that. But I think you can kind of fall into that where you either, as an adult, don't engage. Like the amount of people that I hear, like, don't read books, don't watch TV or movies, don't play video games. I'm like, what is your life? And then they're like, I go to the gym. And I'm like, that's great. But you don't have any stories in your life?
Yeah.
The most human thing, storytelling.
Maybe listening to music, hopefully, at the gym.
When people can't even tell you what their favorite kind of music is.
Yeah.
Podcast, audiobooks.
Yeah.
Like, we have access to everything.
Yeah. It's got to be something. Yeah, I have met a couple people in my life who are like literally media devoid.
Yeah.
And I do find that bizarre because I do start to ask questions about like, where are you getting new ideas from in general?
And I think it affects how you affects how you interact with like society, because I've said it before and I'll always say it again. The more you read, and I'll just use reading as an example, but the more you read, the more compassionate you become as a person. And a lot of that is reading fiction. I will always stand on genre fiction, mostly because it's dominated by women, people of color, queer people, but also it forces you to like see other people's perspective, and also engages your imagination in a way of like imagining what world could be.
Yeah.
Even if it's bad, but it just does that. But I think you can do any of media. As long as you're engaging with media, I think it helps you to be a better person. Now, I will say, maybe not doing like online chat. That can eat my ass, because the rudest people, the most terrible people children will be on those chats, and don't engage with that. But other than that, I think pretty much any media and, engaging with that media can make you a better person.
I think so too. I feel that pretty strongly. I mean, when I think about the most like pivotal emotional moments in my life, there are many of them which are real human to human interactions. It should be noted.
Yes.
But some of them are like sitting in a movie theater and seeing a movie which became my favorite movie ever or whatever, or the feeling I had finishing a specific book on a plane ride. There are I mean, we don't have to sit here and I think tell people, hey, reading is power, but like
right.
Reading books is really great, and I recommend more people do it. And look, also to be clear, not everybody has the time for it. Not everybody has even like kind of the access to it the way that they want to have. You could go to your library. Not everybody has a library close to them, et cetera, et cetera. And I also am not a person who's reading as much as I'd like to be. I think that's kind of how everybody feels, right? I mean, there are infinite books. And unless you're that one guy from that Twilight Zone episode, you don't have the time for it. And he doesn't even have glasses anymore. Sorry to spoil it.
Oh, but I mean, when you think about like, I will never finish every book I ever want to read, it can be like despair inducing. Yeah. But also remember that the worst people in the world, the people that you think are despicable, they probably don't read.
Did you see the Elon Musk stuff this week?
Oh my God. That list of books that he either hasn't read, are about him,
right,
or are like, I'll just put these on because they're classics. Some of them were like, I'm pretty sure at least 3 of them were by people that are really awful, terrible people as well. Like,
what? Oh my God, who was it who called him out? It was so good. Oh no, I can't find it. But there's an author who basically called out Elon and said something to the effect of like, this is the richest man on earth, and he spends every single day on the website that he bought talking about all of the stuff he hates and has never once mentioned a movie or a piece of music or a book that he enjoyed. And then now, if you go on Twitter, apparently, I've been off for a long time, but apparently if you go on Twitter, there are now ads being served to Twitter users showing articles of Elon Musk talking about books that he likes. Oh my God. And he's like spending his time replying to people posting like, Fight Club's a good movie. And he's like, agreed.
Yeah, cool.
That's what you become.
And also, Donald Trump, he says his favorite book is the Bible. Number 1, never read it, but that's the only book he can say.
I didn't know that. Does he really think that? Or did he?
That's what he think that. No, he doesn't think anything. But
but he says that, really?
Yes.
That's remarkable.
It's like the people that say that their favorite book is Harry Potter. Enjoy Harry Potter. That's fine.
Yeah.
Read another book. Yeah. If that's your favorite book, you've never read another book.
There are some good ones out there.
There are some really good ones out there. They're for you. Believe me.
Yeah. You think people aren't trying to chase that success?
Right.
You think Harry Potter came from nowhere also?
Oh, well. But it was on napkins, Brendon.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, it was on napkins, and it was also in the pages of the like 400 other books that she lifted from. But
completely. I might have mentioned it before, but there is a graphic novel, I think it's by Neil Gaiman actually, that is literally Harry Potter. That is from like 10 years before.
Really?
Completely. I mean, it goes weirder places, obviously, and he's a terrible person. But the fact that it's just like, it's just the same thing.
Fascinating.
Right?
I didn't know that.
The terrible person, she also probably doesn't read very much. She's too busy getting black mold poisoning on her yacht with cigars.
Smoking cigars and gloating.
Under a male pseudonym.
Yep.
You have encouraged me to, because I play a lot of video games.
Yeah.
But I don't necessarily rank my own. And part of that is, my husband doesn't play video games. And I have very few friends that, do. I probably have more than I know. Because I think sometimes, like me, people can kind of get a little solitary with that hobby.
Totally.
And I mean, I recommend games to people all the time when I'm like, I think I know your taste. I think you'll like this. But I think I don't necessarily engage in that same way that you're suggesting in the way I do with other media that I consume. And I do think it would be a nice meditative, reflective activity to do that would help me just think about my year in games in the same way that I think about my year in books and my year in movies and my year in theater.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, even just what you mentioned about you have a friend who likes video games and you know their taste and you will recommend them something. That's beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't that really nice at the end of the day that you know somebody well enough to know what they will probably enjoy and you want to share that with them because you've also experienced it and you've done all that calculus in your head,
Yeah.
consciously or not. It's an amazing feeling. So like right now, what is your favorite game that you played this year? Doesn't even have to be one that came out this year. But
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Game of the other year.
Game of the other year.
Go
Toys, baby.
I mean, Blueprints is up there. I really enjoy Blueprints.
Yeah.
I'm currently playing The Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. It
Oh,
had
yes.
been on my Switch for a while, and I got out of the habit, and I've just been doing the like, you know what? I can put on some Dimension 20 and listen to that and play some like the fucking nerdiest and listen to some and play some Japanese light novel.
Yeah. That's a fascinating combination because
Right?
that is a game that I would not at all consider to be a podcast game.
No, well, I'm
'Cause it's
also
all reading
it's all reading.
and deduction. Yeah.
Yeah, but so much of it, I'm like, oh, but yeah, they're like saying like, what? Huh? And I'm like,
True.
I can like, I click in between the two.
We can skip through. Yeah. So, okay. Tell me one thing you like about Blueprints.
I love the board game quality of Blueprints.
Mm.
A Betrayal at House on the Hill is a go-to board game night.
Yes.
Like you can kind of play with anyone game, and that the like tile flippy aspect of Blueprints was like very satisfying to me, and trying to like get the most advantageous route at the beginning. Right? I was like, I have to fill up the most. And then that moment where I'm like, no, I actually need to be more strategic about how I enter rooms. And like the idea of going north to then go back south was like a mind bender for me because I was like, I would never think about that. I'm constantly always going like, go to the corners, go up, fill in the center, go down. No.
Yeah.
It's not gonna do it.
Right. Okay, now tell me one thing you wish Blueprints did better.
I wish there was a lot of stuff that didn't seem to mean anything, but was there to make you think that you should be thinking about stuff. And I appreciate the idea of like, hey, we're sending you signs, but not all those signs were anything. Like, for example, in the room, it's like one of the bedrooms. Every time I came in and there was a postcard that you could pick up.
Oh, yes.
Do anything with it. But I was like, maybe this time. I picked it up too many times.
Thinking that you would have the aha moment.
And never did.
Yeah. And that's critique. Just do that with every game you play. One thing you like, one thing you don't like. And suddenly you're thinking about games in a new way. Mm-hmm. And then you do that with any art and you're thinking about all art in a new way. And suddenly you're engaging with life on different terms. And I think that's incredible.
Yeah, because art requires someone else to experience it. You are part of the equation of the piece, of whatever it is.
Exactly. And then if you're feeling really bold, you can go to your closest modern art museum and look at a big canvas that's painted blue and ask yourself how that feels. And then suddenly you're an art critic also, like a true art critic. And isn't that a cool feeling to have opinions about modern art?
And guess what? Some of it's bad. And that's
some of it's not good. Some of it is not good.
Some of it is really bad. And sometimes that's the point, but sometimes you're like, I don't know if they knew this.
Right.
This has been lovely. I am so glad to have had you on. I knew the vibe was going to be correct, and it was.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. Where can our listeners find you, follow you, listen more to you and your opinion?
Yeah. The best place to find me is wavelengths.online. It's my hub for everything, blog, YouTube channel, the multiple podcasts I do, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, check them out. I really enjoy everything that Brendon puts out.
Thank you so much.
You will get conversations like this, and also silly conversations where you discuss what you're going to name Halloween season and never come to it.
Yeah, it's ongoing project, decade-long project at this point.
And don't forget to leave a review, a rating. They're dumb, but they help.
They're so helpful. You should, review this show. Do it.
And tell someone. This show is literally for everyone. My grandmother, before she passed, was like, oh, that sounds like a really good show. Aww. I had been podcasting for years, and she had shown no interest in anything. And she was like, I'd listen to that. I'm like,
nice.
If your grandma can listen to it, anyone can listen to it.
Wow. Beautiful. engage with art.
So join us next time as we once again prove that my opinion is always correct about everything all the time.